and welcome back to 27 Fox Place. Decluttering and organizing the garage has been an ongoing process, and of course all the donations from our decluttering projects end up in this pile in the garage on its way out, and it's more of a quarantine pile that's constantly expanding and shrinking, but it's also a dumping ground for anything that needs to find a home, and there's a combination of things that need to be rehomed or put away, and I need to make room to relocate the gardening tools to this side of the garage, so the first thing I need to do is load up the car and drive over to the donation center, and that way I can figure out what I have left and what I need to deal with.
When we wake, hear the birds and see the sun. Side by side our fears are done. Oh, the good times just begun. Oh, we know what we have, let's hold on tight. Found what we're looking for in life.
The pile has dwindled down, and there's still a few things that need a home. There's a supply of bottled water that we keep on hand for emergencies, and I need to find a good place to put it. There's extra floor tiles and scrap wood that I moved to the side for now, but I plan to use in upcoming projects. And you may have noticed that we got a new fridge for the garage.
We don't need no more.
The ladders and the gray bins need to stay on this wall, but we were able to relocate the trash and recycle bins to the outside of the house so that we could make more room for the gardening equipment.
Hear the crickets.
We used this stack of bins to separate the recycling, and I wanted to move them to a more convenient location next to the fridge and clear out this corner. And we have a few pieces of scrap wood left over from other projects that we'll be able to use for something else around the house. But in the meantime, I'm going to store the extra wood in these buckets to keep everything together and make it easier to move around. If you're new here, my name is Randy, and I live in Southern California with my husband and our two fur babies, Ace and Callie, and I make videos for cleaning and organizing motivation, and I post new videos every Friday, so if you enjoy this type of content, be sure to take a minute and hit that subscribe button. We have a filter on the water that comes into the house, which I have to try and work around, and I was hoping I could fit the ladders on this wall off to the side, but there just wasn't enough room. And the rack that we use to hang the ladders keeps them out of the way and easy to get to, but having them spread out along the wall takes up too much valuable real estate, so I need to find a way to stack the ladders together so they take up less wall space. And we have a storage system that we took down when we installed the new cabinets on the opposite side of the garage, and I want to reinstall it on this wall to organize the gardening tools. And before I could install the organizers that I wanted to use on this wall, I needed to remove this rack, but it didn't seem to want to come off the wall. There were only 4 screws holding it to the wall, and I was able to get all the screws out except for one, and it took so long that I had to stop recording. And it took forever, but once the rack was finally off the wall, I was able to scrape off the loose paint and patch up the holes. And I decided not to paint the wall right away. I have more touch-ups that I need to do around the garage, and I may end up with more holes in the wall before I'm done. So I decided that it would be better to wait until I get everything where I want it, and then I can come back and touch up the paint where I need to. And once I had one wall cleared, it didn't take long to clear off the smaller one, and I hadn't planned on changing what we keep on this wall, but we needed a better solution for my husband's shoes and a place to put the hand sanitizer and cleaners that we use in this area, and I wanted to add organizers to this wall to get some of the things off the floor and take advantage of the vertical space on this wall. And as you'll see a little bit later, the organizers are designed to hang on a rail system, but I had to work around the pipes and the house filter, so I had to attach them directly to the wall.
It's the same old story being told inside my head. I'm too shy to straighten up my bones and be a man. Tear this wall apart to let you in. My friends say the time's running out, so take the chance. Make a move, 'cause the store won't stay open till the end. Won't you tear my
The system we had for the gardening tools was working well enough, but the location made them harder to access, and we also work out in this area, and having the garden tools so far inside the garage didn't make a whole lot of sense, and by moving the tools to a more convenient location, we were able to create a zone for exercise equipment. We pulled all the tools off the wall and laid them out on the floor to come up with an arrangement before I installed the organizers. And the rails are easy to install, and the rails have holes every 3 to 4 inches, and I just used a stud finder to locate the studs. And once I marked the location of the studs, I just lined up the holes and used a cordless drill to attach the rails to the wall.
Saw you from across the room. When our eyes met, I never knew that I could feel this way.
And once the rails are secured to the wall, there's a cover that snaps over the plate to hide the hardware, and then the hooks hang on the rails in just about any configuration that I need. We've had this system for years, but we weren't using it, so we didn't have to spend any extra money for this project, and I'll be sure to leave a link in the description box in case it's something that you're interested in. My approach to organizing is to try something and hope it works out. And organizing isn't something that comes naturally, but I've gotten better at it through just trial and error. And if it doesn't work out the first time, I can always try something else, and I learn something new from every failure.
I think I've waited all these years for you right here.
And I spent a little time trying to see how things would fit and realized I needed to adjust the height of the rails, and I had to add a few shorter pieces to extend the rails across the wall. So I made the adjustments, but the next day I decided to try and use the shelves here. There's only one other place where these shelves might work, and since I already had the rails up, I thought I would see if this would work out. Finding a place to store the drinking water has been a problem, and we try to keep extra bottled water in case we have an earthquake or some other emergency, and I thought the shelves would get the water off of the floor, and it seemed to make sense to have the water next to the fridge. After a little experimenting, I decided the shelves just aren't the best use of this space. We need a place to hang things, and ladders are more closely related to gardening than water. So it didn't make sense to keep the ladders on the other side of the garage, because here the ladders are out of the way but still easy to access. We don't use this extension ladder very often. It's heavy and hard to move around, but most of the time we use the shorter ladders, so I'm just going to hang it up behind the recycle bin so that it's out of the way. I'm not sure why I was so determined to keep the water here, but I finally realized that it was just going to be in the way, and eventually I found a better location, so I moved it out of here altogether. And once I made the decision on what we needed to have on this wall, it was time to play a game of Tetris. And I spent a little time trying to space things out evenly so that they were easy to get to and easy to put away. And we've been using this system for a few months now, and so far this wall functions beautifully. It's easy to put things away so it stays organized, and having the tools closer to the door saves time and effort.
To get all cleaned up and put away, call it a day. Fight off 1,000 monsters hiding in the sands on Mars. Hijack a flying saucer, steady on the hand, fly home, sweet home, where the saucers go to get all cleaned up and put away. Call it a day. Back home, sweet home, where the heroes go.
We still have a few more organizing projects left to do in the garage, but I just wanted to share the progress that we've made so far. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications before you go. And thank you so much for spending your time with me today, and I hope to see you next time.